Can you hear me? I think you can. Excuse me for sitting. I've got a bad leg problem, so I can't stand up. My name is Jack McShane, and I live in Andes. I have 370 acres in Andes, and I have New York City purchases on 3 sides of my property. 2 are in fee, and the other one is an easement. I'm also the past president of the Catskill Forest Association and the past president of the Catskill Landowners Association, which is a property rights organization. I have some notes, just a couple of points. I am basically pro the land acquisition program. I do have some problems with it, and like Pete Baraki has said, I think many of us here can disagree, but not be disagreeable, which I think is very important. I was reading the CD that was sent to me by DEP, and in it, MOA 79 and 80, the city is committed not to challenge tax assessments on acquired conservation easements. And I want to find out if that is actually true. And why not do the same thing for lands acquired in fee? That would take off a lot of the worry by landowners here in the watershed that if the city does challenge their assessments in the future in a vast amount of land, that tax burden would be shifted to the private landowners. Just reading what is eligible for acquisition, the 4 or 5 items here: located within 1,000 feet of a reservoir, located in a 100-year floodplain, located within 300 feet of a watercourse, contain designated wetlands more than 5 acres, or containing slopes of 15% or more. That seems to make an awful lot of sense to protect those lands and not have building in them, because when building does occur in them and the floods occur, it is then that burden of the residents of those towns to repair all that mess that occurs. If they're off and not developed, then that's a protection, and we won't have to pay for further damage by 100-year floods. I also noted on a positive basis that the DEP is open to future flood buyouts if requested. I think that's a positive note. Since 1997, the MOA, New York City has opened 59,000 acres to multiple recreation uses. 1,700 acres are managed for forestry, which is my background and my love, which is basically the logging industry. It also allows bluestone quarrying on the easement lands. I do have a problem with that. I feel that the requisite plan for quarrying on DEP lands goes over and above and beyond too far the New York State DEC regulations, which are far more than adequate to protect the land when the quarrying goes on. These new regulations on the easement lands will put a lot of my bluestone quarrymen friends out of business. I will put on my Catskill Landowners Association hat just for a moment. As far as the hamlet expansions are concerned, we're concerned that the towns arbitrarily expand the hamlets without contacting the landowners within those expansion areas. If all the landowners within the expansion areas agree to the expansion, which will limit their ability to sell their land to the city, then it's fine. But unless they get approval by those landowners impacted, we look at that as a taking of landowners' rights by our towns, and we oppose that. If all landowners within the expansion zones agree, more than acceptable, no problem. I do have a couple of questions that hopefully can be answered. I negotiated with the city for many years, actually from the beginning of the MOA, about putting a conservation easement on our properties, on our acreage. And because I was always a very active landowner and manager of my property, I was always concerned with the rules and regs and the control by the DEP on the land. And I'm wondering now, and it's a question that can be answered later, or hopefully maybe sometime here, approximately how many violations by owners have been found, owners of the land under conservation easement? I'd like to know what the penalties have been for the violations and what those violations have been. It'd be interesting to know that. I have one other kind of a silly question. But land presently under a DEP conservation easement, could that land in the future, the balance of it, be sold to the city so that the city would own it in fee? There's also another point that's brought up if you're going to have a conservation easement, that the DEP will do an analysis of the landowner's stated plans for future use. And I was wondering what the purpose of that analysis was and what that would be used for when you're negotiating a conservation easement on the property. The little quick comment on the gas drilling issue. If the city implements through DEC more stringent or impossible rules to have gas drilling on a property, I feel that that in itself is a taking of private property rights. And if that goes through, I think that landowners within the watershed who lose the rights to drill for gas should be compensated adequately by New York City users of their water. 5 cents a year on a water meter could probably help pay our taxes. Just another point, a couple of our supervisors mentioned that there has been no scientific research that proves that land acquisition protects water quality. To those who want it, I will get that research from both Yale and SUNY ESF. It's been done and it's been proven. Even small land acquisitions have an impact